2017 combined meeting of the Pine-Richland School Board will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Ms. Williams.
Dr. Banyas.
Here.
Mrs. Dawson.
Here.
Mr. Sundo. Mr. Kashani.
Here.
Mr. DiTullio.
Here.
Mrs. Goebel. Mrs. Johnston. Here. Mr. Lyons.
Here.
Mr. Stegman.
Here.
Thank you.
I have no specific president's statement tonight, so we'll move into item 1.02, recognition of visitors. If anybody wishes to approach and speak to the board, please do so. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 1.03, student and staff recognition. Ms. Hathorn.
Thank you. Several middle school students qualified for the Pennsylvania State History Competition in May, which will be held in May at Carlisle High School. This year is the theme of taking a stand in history. Qualifying are 8th graders, including Emerson Dixon, Elena Camino, and Kristen Donahoe, who earned first place in the website category. Also, Samantha Cook and Haley Jacks, who earned second place in the individual documentary category. Each of them did. And Michael Lessie, Joshua Remby, and Victor Williams, who earned third place in the group performance category. A middle school team also advanced at Odyssey of the Mind state competition in Moon Area School District. Participating included 7th graders Miles Brown, Riley Doyle, Genevieve Gachis, Joshua Petruska, Colby Oland, Colin Oland, and Amish Sethi, and Mrs. Laura Oland serving as a parent coach. The high school took second place at the International Business Marketing Competition at the University of Pittsburgh. The team had to market a Bayer product called Advanced Aspirina to consumers in Costa Rica. And team members included senior Joseph Mullen, juniors Andrew Park and Benjamin Cohen, and sophomores Umyal Nateson and Bailey Maury. So we congratulate them. This is the first time they had placed so high. Pine-Richland High School senior Sarah Mooney earned the Western Pennsylvania chapter of the Leukemia Society 2017 Student of the Year Award. She raised more than $11,000 during a 7-week campaign. Also, congratulations to sophomore Arjan Guglani and Kevin Zhao and freshman Justin Waltrip for competing at the regional competition for Pennsylvania Computer Fair held at Carnegie Science Center. Arjan earned first place, and Justin and Kevin teamed up and earned second place. They will go on to states in May, so congratulations. Also, A.W. Beatty Career Center named Pine-Richland High School sophomore Dalton Groskinski Student of the Month for February in automotive technology. Also, I wanted to add that the Pine-Richland Education Association will be conducting a spring cleanup on April 20th at 4:15 p.m. in front of Eden Hall Upper Elementary School, and I'm sure they would welcome any help. And they will also be participating in a 5K on May 20th at North Park, which generates a scholarship called the Alex Fund. Teachers also generate a $3,000 scholarship each year to a deserving senior. Also, there's a reminder that the high school chamber singers will perform at the PMEA All-State Conference and Convention in Erie on April 20th. We told you about that earlier this year, but it's been some time. Also, senior Lauren McAllister and junior Gabriel Schoon will participate in the All-State Choir on the 19th. Alexander Campus and Julia Solomon are just back from participating in the All-East Band in Atlantic City. Also, the Air Force JROTC program will host the annual 3rd drill meet on April 22nd at the high school, and as you can see, definitely a busy month. Thank you.
Ordinarily, sometimes it's frustrating when certain parts of the meeting go longer than expected, but this is certainly an exception to that rule. This is an impressive list of student achievements this month. Item 1.04, correspondence. Ms. Williams.
Kristen Smith emailed the board regarding busing and safety.
My thing just died here. Thank you. Item 1.05, minutes for approval. My computer just froze here. I'm gonna have to get to it.
Okay, good.
Recommended a motion to approve the meeting minutes as attached. It's been seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion passes.
I'll email everybody the agenda too, in the meantime.
What's that?
I'll email everybody the agenda. I have it on my
Okay.
desktop just in case.
All right. Item 2.01, strategic plan update. Dr. Miller.
We did not plan to discuss these tonight. We have started the practice quarterly of reporting on progress and next steps of what we have deemed key initiatives. We have a lot of things happening in the district. This year, we elevated what we determined to be the most important work of the district. Those are our key initiatives. We keep them in front of us. We bring them to you often. You hear reports. So we've attempted to summarize that within the agenda, so anyone, anywhere, anytime can read that and be aware. You'll notice in communications from Ms. Hathorn and messages from me to the community, we're constantly tying updates on these initiatives into our communications and really seeking feedback. So if there are specific questions, we'd be happy to respond. This is not the only work of the district. Earlier tonight, you heard about elementary, well, we didn't get to elementary report cards, but we had online curriculum as another example of something that's happening this year in the strategic plan. It's just not something that we deemed a key initiative. Okay.
Okay. Moving on to finance. Mr. Kashani, in Mr. Sundo's absence, would you mind taking this?
Sure. Of course, now mine's gonna work.
Yeah, my computer's completely.
All right, item 3.01. Motion to approve the financial reports dated March 31st, 2017, and accounts payable dated April 10th, 2017, in the amount of $390,290.78, and paid accounts for March in the amount of $4,850,287.30 as listed.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 3.02, motion to approve the budget transfers in the amount of $73,942.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 3.03 is just a reminder of upcoming Finance Committee meetings. One on April 17th, a week from tonight, and then another on May 15th, prior to the voting meeting.
Any other questions for finance? Thank you, Mr. Kashani.
You're welcome.
Academic achievement, Ms. Dawson.
Academic achievement, item 4.01, motion to approve the 2017-18 program of studies for all 3 elementary schools in Eden Hall.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 4.02, a motion to approve recommended products for each content area as listed below to be on display for 30 days beginning Tuesday, April 11th, 2017.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? For all those out there, these resources will be displayed here in this conference room, at the high school library and Richland Township Library for 30 days beginning April 11th, tomorrow.
It's your chance to weigh in.
So yeah, please read them and opine for us. It's a chance to give your
Input.
desired input. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 4.03 is an information item and an extra little presentation that we missed during our academic achievement meeting. We had an academic achievement meeting prior to this, as well as a joint staff services meeting. And during that, Mr. Kenny shared with us the hiring process, followed by Dr. Pasquinelli sharing with us the problem-solving materials available to the community, online resources, which more information to come on that. And we also talked about the booster policy with the staff services portion, and Dr. Silba would like to speak with us about report cards.
So as Dr. Miller had spoke earlier, we have called out the elementary report cards as something that we would like to be reviewing. It does dovetail with the strategic initiatives that we have, specifically teaching and learning, and also we are engaging the community in terms of feedback, as well as the board and the staff members in the process as we are reviewing those report cards. So the purpose of them, as you know, is to communicate student growth and achievement, and we want to summarize that learning that students are engaged in the classroom at regular intervals throughout the year. And we want to provide students and parents with information so that they're able to help set goals around what the students need to be working on, and want that information to be very valuable in terms of the teaching and learning that's occurring. So what we need to consider right now, things that have happened in years past or are currently a part of the landscape in education, is that we've not reviewed these report cards for several years. It's been 9 years at our count in talking with the principals. And since that time, we've had 2 different versions of the standards that we've been trying to look at. We've also been having curriculum reviews and updates. We're going in and looking at pacing, the order in which things are being instructed, and that impacts when indicators would be particularly valuable to have data reported back to the parents. In addition, we have the school configurations, which have changed, and so we're thinking about, 3rd to 4th grade transitions. A lot of the 3rd grade teachers are also sharing, a desire to also have some grades, perhaps, at that level be reflected instead of indicators only. So that's something that we're talking about throughout this process. We also know that the grades are available on demand, particularly in the 4th through 6th grade span. People can go online, parents can see those very readily, and the report cards themselves are electronic. So we want to make sure that there's value in those, and it's not just restating, redundantly what is already online and available for families. Additionally, the current report card is also 2 to 3 pages long, and we see that as something that could possibly be a little more user-friendly, have maybe a higher level snapshot and overview of the learning that the students are doing in the classroom. So the fundamental questions that are driving this, it became a part of the strategic plan because we had talked with parents and staff members prior to developing the initiatives, and this was something that had not been looked at for some time, and we wanted to ensure that there was alignment across what was being reported on the report cards as well as the learning happening in the classroom. So additionally, there are certain indicators that over the marking periods, if a child does not reach proficiency on, are to be continued to be monitored until that child does reach mastery. And so that's something that we want to look at and ensure that there's consistency of reporting those indicators across marking periods. And that we want to make it as clear and concise as we possibly can as it relates to student progress. And the second fundamental question was that because technology has changed the way that student progress can be reported, what do we need to do and how do we need to think differently about those report cards themselves and the purpose that it is conveying? So we want to leverage the online capability of the system and ensure that we're capturing the students' progress on a daily, weekly basis in a way that helps everyone understand where the students are, what needs to be occurring in the classroom and at home, and then also make sure that there's a high level, kind of a 1 page is what we're envisioning summary of that learning.
Can I pop in there real quick?
Sure.
So just, again, along those same lines. So here's an example comment that we would receive from a family, a parent. The report card's not refrigerator worthy.
Mm-hmm.
It's confusing. You can't show it to grandma and grandpa. You can't put it up with a magnet and see in a snapshot how the child's doing. So that's one example. From staff, we might hear about, again, that mismatch of how we're reporting and what we're reporting. So that's one big point. But the second point is really something I hope we can think about and even consider innovation, which is, has the report card in its traditional sense outlived its usefulness now that we have accessibility to student learning through online systems? Not that we don't do something, but we think maybe this something could be radically different because report cards traditionally existed at a time when that's when parent feedback. And if it wasn't report card, maybe you get an interim. 4.5 weeks you get something and then a report card. So we want to keep things open to being very different here and meeting the needs of our families and reporting progress. So this is definitely an open problem, to use Dr. Pasquinelli's earlier presentation.
It's all coming back full circle. And so our proposed process for this is that we met with the principals, and that was on Friday last week. We'll be meeting with them again on the 20th of this month. And I'm starting in the process this week and next week of going and meeting with each of the buildings. And we've created committees that are representative, and I'll show you the members here in a moment, of all content areas, all grade levels across the 3 primary buildings as well as Eden Hall, so that we have everyone represented across departments. And we've begun to look at, what indicators they would like to continue with, what types of things we need to reflect, and we purposefully structured a document that looks like a table with the middle column sort of blown out so that they can generate in a free and open way new ideas that they would like to be considered in the brainstorming portion. After we do that, we will be taking back to the principals and the teachers a draft of what we hope the report cards could look like, so that we're able to compare the past, what is currently in place now, with the future potential report card, and then look to take that to a town hall group with parents sometime in May, the end of May, where they could also provide feedback about what they would like to see and how they see that difference and that change in report card impacting them and their understanding of the learning that's occurring. And then lastly, the board would be updated with those recommendations and revisions in the summer, with potential hope to have that new report card in place for the beginning of next year.
Just another, one of the comments that often comes up when we have these discussions is what percentage of our families have internet access or are able to view. And as Mrs. Hathorn monitors that, we're really down to a couple of families within the entire school district who do not have that. So we have plans at 2. We do specifically work to meet the needs of those families, but for the vast majority of families, all but 2, they have access to internet-based resources.
And so this is a quick look at the report card committee team that is coming together. So I was at Eden Hall this morning, and also Richland Elementary. I'll be going to Wexford tomorrow, and then Hants next week. All those teachers know who their partner and grade level common teachers are. So for instance, in kindergarten, we have 2 teachers that know that they can contact each other and speak about that across buildings, and then we'll be able to get more insights from their peers along the way as they're generating these ideas. Any questions related to the process that we've laid out? We would like to have alignment between those indicators and the learning, and we also want to make sure that that report card is going to be very user-friendly and give us a snapshot of growth and achievement in some way, as well as being able to view that progress of students online in real time, throughout the online grade book. Sure.
How does it differ now? And again, so this is some ignorance on my part because I don't have an elementary child right now. I'm used to having it in high school. How does the online monitoring differ from what high school students have now? Is it still?
At K-3, because it's indicator-based, there aren't a lot of grades that you can see that are translating into a percentage that is easily understood as a grade. So it really isn't until the time when that report card is sent out that parents get a clear snapshot of where that child is performing in terms of the indicator itself. In 4 to 6, it would be more similar because you actually do have grades and percentages that are visible.
Okay. So it's what it will look like. We don't exactly know. 'Cause
Right.
Dr., you had mentioned possibly doing away with the traditional report card. Would there still be the quarterly breaks or just a fluid through the year? Is that your vision? I know it's
Again, yeah, I would say there will be benchmarks in time, and that's important for a number of reasons, but how much emphasis goes into that benchmark as opposed to what you can view on an ongoing basis, we think that's more important and that's more valuable to the family. So we want to focus our attention there more than we want to focus it on cleaning up something that may not be effective or beneficial to families. But again, beyond that, we don't have answers right now. We just have, that's where we're headed.
Like the K to 3.
A worthwhile endeavor.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. It'll be very interesting to see what we come back with in a month, so I look forward to sharing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further questions on academic achievement? Thank you, Dr. Silba. Thank you, Ms. Dawson. Buildings and grounds, Mr. DiTullio.
I gotta catch my place up here. Item 5.01 is a motion to authorize continued participation of Pine-Richland in the Western Pennsylvania Electricity Consortium for the purchase of electricity for the period of 24 months until January 2019. The price will include all costs except distribution.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes. Yes?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 5.02 is a motion to approve VEBH Architects for the professional services for paving and resurfacing projects at a cost not to exceed $10,887, and to authorize the advertisement for bids at a cost of $800 for printing and advertising.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 5.03 shifts to the athletics fields, or athletic facility improvements, and a motion to approve ECHL's architecture and engineering for the professional services for the athletic facility improvement and middle school vestibule at a cost not to exceed $64,000, and to authorize the advertisement for bids.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 5.04 is a motion to approve a proposal from Shaw Industries to purchase carpeting and adhesive at the cost indicated.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 5.04, or 5.05, I'm sorry, replacement of the chiller compressor, a motion to approve a proposal from Toby Card, I believe is the name, service agency to purchase and install replacement chiller and compressor at the high school at a cost of $16,956.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Any additional questions on buildings and grounds? Thank you, Mr. DiTullio. Student Services, Ms. Johnston.
Can I have a paper? Thank you. Thank you very much. Item 6.01 is a motion to approve the updated 2017-18 Pine-Richland Discipline Code as presented.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 6.02 is a motion to approve the AIU policies, procedures, and use of funds as attached.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 6.03 is a motion to approve an educational service agreement with the Allegheny Intermediate Unit to provide and operate for the benefit of students assigned by the district on special education services and programs delineated in the AIU Special Education Plan for the 2017-18 school year.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 6.05 is a motion to approve the attendance and participation of the cheerleading team at the PRSD Boys Basketball PIAA Championship game from Saturday, March 25th, 2017 until Sunday, March 26th, 2017 in Hershey, PA, as described in the attached field trip form.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Just on the policy of retroactive.
Yeah.
Make any sense? What if we don't approve this?
We go back in time.
Yeah.
We've had this discussion within the last 4 years. At one point, we had brought forward a recommendation to pre-approve post-season competition blanket, any team that qualifies for Whitby Over State competition. The discussion at that time, again, this was probably 3.5 years ago, was to not do that, to bring these items singly as they happen. When we can, they're approved in advance. When we can't, they're not. So, again, this post-retro tends to be the exception to this, not the rule.
What's the reason?
What's that?
What's the point? Legally solve the problem or prevent a problem or?
My guess is we have a board policy. I can't say that for 100% certain, but I believe we do, and that would drive the reason.
But does it apply retroactively?
Well, at some point, you have to have something that authorizes the expenditures that are associated with.
Right, we didn't do that.
And if,
So.
yeah, but if your policy doesn't pre-approve those, then at some point, they're gonna have to come up somewhere other than on the bill list.
I think at one time, we did something like, we listed all the potential things that could occur. Yeah.
But then after, that at least happened while I was here, but
Yeah.
after we spent some time discussing that, the decision was, let's not do that. And, again.
Well, I think
remember
we
that
still
discussion.
approved them, but I think we had at least a reason to consider not to approve them ahead of time. Like, you know, you could still approve, you know, if you say these are all the potential trips we may have, you could still individually approve them, but just list them out ahead. You know what I mean?
I can't say that I fully follow what you're saying. I think we have a good process in place. I think it works 98% of the time. In this case, it didn't. But it is our practice and I believe policy to bring it forward. We've done so. I don't really know what else to say. I think
Yeah.
it's working. I would hate to see us spend an inordinate amount of time on something that I think is effective.
I just gotta bring up the liability question though. So if we haven't approved it officially, and let's say something during this trip happens, is there any potential liability issues?
That needle doesn't move one way or another based on whether you've pre-approved it or not.
All right. I'm good though.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion passes.
I'd like to go back to item 6.04. This is a motion to approve the student attendance and application of the Student Discipline Code for the Pine-Richland High School boys basketball team to travel to Hershey, PA from Friday, March 24th, 2017 to Sunday, March 26th, 2017 to participate in the Pennsylvania Interscholastic Athletic Association's basketball championship game as described on the attached field trip request form.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 6.06, and this is going to be for board consideration at the May planning meeting. It'll be a motion to approve the student handbooks as presented.
So I have one suggestion, but I'll make it, like, I'll send an email to somebody, but it's about how the wording of the EpiPens is worded. Who should I send it to?
Send it to me.
Okay. It's awkward. It's not clear.
Which wording, I'm sorry?
There's,
EpiPens.
I mean, it's like right from the regulations, but it's
Yeah.
just, it's unclear. It should be more clear. Exactly.
there any additional questions on student services? Thank you, Ms. Johnston. Staff services, Ms. Dawson, would you mind taking this?
As soon as I have that paper.
I would give you mine, but I got to
Here you
start a
go.
meeting.
Here you
Dr. Miller.
Here, Teresa.
Barb, thank you. Okay, I have it. Item
No, I know, I just got
7.01.
it.
Motion to approve the personnel items as attached, if you looked at them ahead of time, if you can't see them.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I'll just make a comment on the amount of retirements and the wealth of knowledge that will be walking out the door, particularly for me, again, I go back to special needs. There's another individual here who's touched my daughter's life, and the amount of 30-year experience, educators, specifically special education. It's tough to see them go, but obviously they deserve it.
Yeah, she's awesome.
When I started on the board 6 years ago, my son was in kindergarten. I remember watching Steve and all you old folks on the board talking about these teacher retirements and tearing up. And I have one, Ms. Byers, who will be sorely missed and has made a deep impression on my son. So now I feel old. Thank you.
I love Mrs. Byers.
I know.
I'm so
I know.
sad.
So.
Is that it?
Do we have a second?
We do.
Okay. The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 7.02 is an action item. Motion to approve the second reading of community-based policies 900 batch. Quite the batch.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
There is, but since this is a second reading and there are birds chirping outside, I heard, just kidding. It's like a nice day. I don't want to prolong the meeting too much, but again, I will send these comments that I have to Owen. But there's just some wording in I don't know. I don't have it in front of me, but I have some wording issues that I'd like to throw out there. That's it. Because we have one more reading, which would be what day?
It would be the May 1st.
May 1st.
Planning meeting.
Okay.
Any further discussion on item 7.02? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Motion passes.
Item 7.03 is just information, a first reading of policies listed 903, 910, and 916, which would be public participation in board meetings, community engagement, and volunteers. And that's it. Any comments on that?
Based on the earlier discussion, is there some overlap or need for clarity between the volunteer policy 916?
That's my
and our-
interpretation, but
Okay.
I think policy stands separate, but I think that 15 should kind of link, that's my opinion, but I know we're going to have further discussion, so.
So this
I
is.
think the policy relative to clearances is fine in its current format. If we want to look at 916 relative to booster policy and connect it to it, at some point, we can have that discussion. But I think the clearances policy as it currently stands in its current form is fine as its own standalone policy for the district perspective. Yep.
Just as a note, though, in public content, we had a statement here, depending on the committee discussion. It is clear that policy 915 will not be going anywhere for board consideration until we give it more than enough time. So we're in no hurry there. It will not be included in this sub-batch. It will be its own thing, and we'll be adding a staff services meeting to review it.
Anything else? Okay, item 7.04 is also an information item for the board to consider at the May planning meeting, a motion to approve the first reading of the food service policy as attached. So, any conversation around that right now? Okay. Item 7.05 is another first reading, very policy-rich information session here of the board consideration at the May planning meeting. Motion to approve a first reading of 246, the student wellness as attached. That one, that's a pretty big policy. I would encourage everybody to make sure you read that because it's, I mean, I haven't looked at what the red line changes are, but it's one that is used.
And we did review those with the board, so we'll continue to tweak it.
Any additional comments or questions on staff services? Thank you, Ms. Dawson, for filling in. We have nothing on operational services, as I see. Move on to board business. Item 9.01 is the certification of 2017 PSBA voting delegates. Recommended action is a motion to approve Therese Dawson and Peter Lyons as our voting delegates.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion passes, and thank you both for volunteering. Reports.
Just a comment, well, first a celebration. The middle school students performed The Lion King, for those that were able to see it. Really incredible performance. Significant amount of student involvement in a variety of different roles. The shows are sold out and again, positive feedback shared from parents. So a lot of talent. And again, regardless of where that talent lies, there was a spot for kids to do something, whether that was in stage crew or just with a small role. It was pretty impressive.
There were no cuts. I think that's the key. I mean, a role was found for everyone to participate, and the participation was extraordinarily high. And I think the joy came through in the product as well.
It was fantastic. I was completely impressed. It was really
The other comment I had, Laurel Grove, obviously if you come in through the main entrance, you've seen already the trees that have been taken down in that residential area that'll be across the street. I did share with the board information about a traffic signal easement. That is something that the board will need to act on, doesn't need to act on tonight, but Mr. Clear was going to share just a couple of words about next steps in that process.
Right, this is a very customary kind of thing, but they need that legal easement, and that document would have to be approved by the board. The concept's been shared. I just didn't want to move the ball down the field without seeing heads nod. Yeah, we expect it, and just go ahead and proceed, and we can queue up the legal document for your May cycle meeting.
And that request was specific to that location identified, not some general easement that.
No, they have, if you look on the plans that Brian had sent out, they actually have a very sharp depiction of the easement area, and it'll have a legal description associated with it.
Anybody else notice the large ravine?
Excuse me?
Anybody else notice the large ravine opposite our driveway that would have to be filled in?
To be candid, I haven't looked across the
There's a lot of things over there you can see now that you couldn't see when you were.
It was always there.
My suggestion is it might be a pending request to move or alter their plans
It
as
was
proposed.
already done.
That's
I
baked in the
bought that
cake.
out of Pine
Yeah.
Township. The township made them move it across from the school. They were originally gonna have it where it was a flat entry further
Right.
down.
Right.
They wanted the traffic there so they could control with one signal. Because they were gonna avoid cutting any of those trees that you see cut.
Is it resolved?
What?
It's going to be there directly?
It is going to be
Correct.
directly
It's
across,
all
yes,
roads.
yes. At a right angle crossing, directly aligned with our driveway.
That's all on that thing.
I agree.
Any other reports?
Just a brief update from the AIU. We held our Allegheny County Board Directors and Superintendents Convention on March 29th, where we held board elections. I was not up, but mine is a 3-year seat. But we did have a newly elected member to the AIU board, which is James Bulger from Steel Valley. It was an uncontested election. All the seats, the incumbents who ran as well, which is highly unusual for the AIU. So still some concerns about, keeping people active. And I know I was sort of motivated a couple of years ago last year to get involved for that reason. But the convention, in its new format, I think was well received. Less than a dinner. We didn't see a huge drop-off in the numbers of attendance. And in terms of having the election and stuff, at least my feedback is, at least when you go there and you make people go to vote, you will have a chance to meet and hear and speak to the candidate. I know here, when we get lists and maybe a brief bio, I don't know if we find that very satisfying either. So that's all my.
Did he
update.
not run last year? I think I
He did.
remember him.
James
So
Bulger
I
did
do remember
run.
having met him, so.
He did run. I think he was at our table, or he was
Yeah.
sitting there, and he's a guy you remember.
Well, I
Yeah.
spent some of my early days in Munhall, so that's why I think I specifically remember him, so.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So the fact that you weren't running again didn't motivate me to go down as much, so. Any other reports? Well, time to move to our item 10.02, our second recognition of visitors. Anybody wish to approach the board, please do so. Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
We're moving to executive session to discuss a legal matter.